Hey folks, Jerry Stevenson, Chief Redneck in Charge at the Redneck BBQ Lab, McGee's Crossroad in Benson, North Carolina. I'm here today to show you how to make smoked lamb chops at home just like I do at mine. But first, before we start into this recipe, I'd like for you guys to go down here on this YouTube channel, like this video, subscribe to our channel if you're not already a subscriber. Click on that bell down there. That bell will alert you when the videos drop. The new videos drop, you'll be the first to know. That way you don't miss anything or someone sees something before you. Share this with your friends. We're doing this to inspire people and it's our way to try to give back to you as you guys have given to us at our restaurants. And finally, please leave your comments as to what you thought about this video and suggestions as to other topics you'd like us to cover. So everything, anything, we'll do what we can for you guys, except dance and sing, remember? No dancing, no singing. So let's start this. Lamb chops. I'll be honest with you. I ate my first lamb chop about 8 years ago. I was at a barbecue contest and a gentleman named Vic came by and said, "Here, eat this." Right in the middle of a contest, man hands me something, took a bite of it. It's like, wow, it was different. It was a little gamey tasting, a little different tasting, but boy, it was great. It was tender, it was smoky, it was salty. You know, he had a little heat on it. I mean, it was a great bite of barbecue. And to me, I was like, wow, what is this? And he said, it's lamb. And it was not what I thought lamb was supposed to be. I thought lamb was more like what you have in Kentucky, what they call mutton, which is like an adult sheep. It's very gamey. It reminds me of eating deer around here in eastern North Carolina that have not been eating corn. They've been eating acorns and foraging and stuff, and they get quite a unique flavor, which is not a bad flavor, but it's one that it does kind of take you off guard if you eat it. So when I had that bite of lamb, I was like, wow, this is really good. You should explore this. So we have, and this is a recipe that I came up with on the smoker to be able to do this, lamb chops. Now, lamb is a very delicate piece of meat. It's made one of two ways, and that's why it's perfect for barbecue. It's either made to be driven like a moped, real slow, real dependable, but real slow, like say if you were doing a shoulder, or fast, like a funny car, you know, one of these top fuel dragsters. It's just, you know, and this is the loin, the chop right here of the animal. And it's more tolerant to heat than you would think. It's made to be cooked hot and fast. You want to shoot for a rare, medium rare temperature, don't go any more. And we played around with this, and this is something we came up with that we're going to share with you. So first thing, this lamb chop right here, we're going to remove some of this fat that you can see right here. It's not really going to add any flavor. If anything, it'll just kind of hinder us being able to put on our rub and our seasoning, as you'll see here in a little bit. So I'm going to remove some of this fat. It's just basically a piece of fat between the animal skin in there. And this one's got quite a bit. Then the next thing I'm going to do is once I get this fat off like there, leave some of it on. The fat a lot of times, especially if you're cooking this on a grill, will help fire up a little bit, flare ups and stuff, and give you a little bit of extra flavor. But in terms of this way we're doing it, the fat's not really going to help anything. It's going to more hinder our cooking method here than anything. So we get in there and remove a good bit of that meat. You can see that this is a Frenched rack, and what really the fancy term for French rack means is that the bones were left in, and they were basically the butcher had trimmed them so they were left exposed. Me, when I first saw this, I didn't really know what it was called. I was a little kid. I just thought it was a handle, you know. Little trivia for the person growing up that had no clue about what really the intent of what that handle was for. Really, I think it's just made to give a pretty presentation when it's all said and done. Next part that I'm doing right now is I'm removing this silver skin from this animal, and you can see the silver skin is the shiny stuff. It's called elastin. It's something that the body won't digest. It helps hold the muscles together, and it does a great job of doing that. However, it also keeps you from being able to put your rub in there and get your seasoning down in there. And it also basically creates that impenetrable barrier that will not allow anything to go in nor out. But at the same time, it's something that I just will go ahead and knock off and remove. And as you can see here in the video, I've probably pretty much removed as much of that as I really want to. On the back side of this, here is just a little bit of connective tissue and bones, and it'll be all right. Unlike ribs that we cook, you know, if you've watched our videos down here on our St. Louis ribs that we've shown you guys like how we cook before, we're going to leave the membrane on the back of these because we want it to kind of hold the animal from the bones from kind of falling apart and everything, and it'll help keep some of the moisture in there without it being seared from the bottom coming out. And we'll have plenty of seasoning on this. Like I said, this is a very delicate piece of meat. Doesn't require like a huge amount of seasoning on it, although we are going to hit it with a pretty good amount today. So to season this meat, the thing that I like to do is you guys, if you've, like I said, watched our videos, you know I am a proponent of cooking on a pan. And this one I'm foil lined, so I don't even have to wash it, but a foil pan with a rack that'll help kind of get the heat and the smoke going around this meat. And also it catches any of the juices or anything else that can get into my smoker and make it dirty. So therefore I don't have to clean it up. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna baste this meat with some canola oil. Canola oil is my favorite that I like to use. Go ahead and get it pretty good. I'll get it up here as well on that side. I don't do the back side with the canola oil. This is another step that I do. It's not a necessary step, but it may be one that if you're serving this to a guest, it makes it more attractive. I actually wrap the bones with aluminum foil, and it will keep the bones from drying out. A lot of times the bones will burn, and I kind of is unattractive. This is kind of an unnecessary step. If you're serving this to guests, you may want to do it. Kind of makes it look kind of cool, I guess, later on when you pull it out, versus giving somebody and it's got a very like dark bone on it. It's just some aluminum foil that I took the time to cut into little mini squares. This would be an attractive meal for dinner for the holidays as well. Summertime, you could have a veal chop and a salad, maybe some Brussels sprouts, maybe some of those smoked Brussels sprouts that you may or may not have seen in a video here on this YouTube channel as yet. Probably be a great combination in my opinion. Pretty easy to do. You can impress your friends, your family, significant other, girlfriend with this. Just kind of knock it out like that. And lastly, we are going to apply a rub to it. The rub that I'm going to use today is the Redneck BBQ Lab chicken and rib rub. This rub, basically, it's good for any kind of meat besides chicken and ribs. It's good for fish, it's good for lamb, veal, something like that you don't cook a long time. It's made to color up and help set the bark, that pellicle on the outside of this very fast. That's the difference between our original seasoning and that. And plus, it's just got an awesome aroma. So I think we'll go ahead and season up this lamb chop. I'll get the edge on this. Not really worried about getting the back side that much because like I said, this will be something that you won't be tasting anything on anyway. Because of that elastin there. But this side we're gonna get pretty good. Here we have it. There is that lamb chop now. The next step, what I like to do is, as if you're familiar with these videos, and if you're not, you're about to learn something here, is that I like to let this rest just a bit. We're gonna let it rest in the refrigerator for anywhere between 30 minutes up to 12 hours, meaning you can do it in the morning and cook it that night. This will kind of help. You can always see right away how the rub starts reacting with the meat, and you see some of the moisture coming out. That's the water and the proteins coming out of the meat, meeting the rub and kind of setting this outer bark. It'll be this kind of gooey mess that when it hits the smoke and gets to the right temperature, it's that thing that tightens up and creates that bark, that pellicle around this meat that helps not only give it some flavor, but to keep that moisture inside. So we're gonna take this, pop this in the refrigerator, probably for about 30 minutes, uncovered. We'll let some of that air go across it, and it will kind of speed things up and get this ready to go into the smoker. So we'll see you guys at the smoker here shortly. All right, folks, we let our lamb chop here sit in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. You can see it's nice that the rub is kind of starting to go into the meat a little bit. The protein, the water's starting to come out, creates that like sticky glaze on top of it. That's indicative of it is time for it to hit the smoke. That way some of this smoke starts getting into this rub, and once it gets up to about 100, 165 degrees outside, it'll start setting up, tighten up, create that pretty bark that we all love. Looks pretty. So without any delay, let's go ahead and get this sucker in here. You go ahead and see we've already got our Brussels sprouts in here. We're going to be having some of those as a side dish along with this. Like I said, I think this will make for a pretty interesting combination, but we will see pretty soon how it is. So let's leave this in here. I'm gonna leave it in here. I'm gonna cook it at about 325 degrees. I'm looking for an internal temperature of 125 degrees to pull it off. Once it hits that 125 degrees and I pull it off, I'm gonna let it sit with a piece of tin foil over it, rest for a little bit, and then we'll dig into it. So we'll see you guys soon. All right, folks, we went ahead and we pulled our lamb chops out of the smoker. We got it up to about 120 degrees. We let it sit for a little bit. What I've done here is I took just a chimney and I put a grate over the top of it. We're going to do what's called a reverse sear on this to kind of crust up this outside and get these proteins set. The rub's on here, not quite set, and when we hit it with this hot blast of heat, it'll sear the outside and set it real quick, and then it'll be ready to take it to the table. So let's go ahead and very gently put it on this kind of rocket chimney cooker we've got right here. Really too hot for me to hold. Just gonna let it kind of sear the outside, like I said. It's kind of like a cast iron skillet, really hot. This chimney is the way that I start my fires, even in my big smokers and stuff. It just gives you this up blast of heat, heats it up real quick. I don't need to use lighter fluid. It's unnecessary in the cooking method the way that I do it this way. I have to flip around. Sorry, the residual heat coming off this thing is just unbelievable. The heat that just travels down this is just insane. If we were to put something on here, it would just immediately burn, you know, if it was something really delicate like a piece of fish. But steaks, even lamb chops like this kind of benefit from this direct searing blast. You kind of see what it's done on the outside. It's starting to set the sugars and stuff, not burn, but just kind of set it. Flavor is unbelievable. Once again, that smoke, it's just all that lamb and all of those proteins and that rub, the fat that's on there, it's kind of caramelizing a little bit. This is playing with fire. This is what I thoroughly encourage people to do in a professional manner like this. Get it just a little bit more on this end. Now I think we'll be ready to take this to the table. So I've been meaning to do the whole time without it falling over. I just didn't want to do that on the camera. you can just see on here, it's not burning or anything, but it's just kind of setting that outside, that pellicle on it, adding a little bit of a grilled flavor to it. And that right there is what we want. So, next hardest part in barbecue that I always talk about, folks, is right now. This is the part where we have to take this inside and let it rest for a little bit. And then we'll be ready to serve it. So, we'll catch you guys inside. We'll let this rest for a while, show you what we did. All right, we're back up here in the RBL studios. We just threw on some lamb chops onto our smoker to smoke, and now we want to make a sauce to go accompany that lamb. That lamb's got a lot of flavor, but I think we can add a little bit more to it to make it pop even more and impress your guests and your friends even more so. So what we're about to whip up right here for you is a smoked mushroom red wine sauce. I have some mushrooms here that I threw on when I was smoking a couple days back, and I use these mushrooms, I freeze them, and I can pull them out and use them whenever I want to. I could put these on a steak. I could use them pretty much for whatever I would like. I make duxelle sauce with them. Ooh, that's a little hot. Pull that off, cut my temperature down. I make duxelle sauce with them. Just pretty much anything and everything that I can think of, I will use that mushroom red wine sauce on, and the mushrooms for as well. The mushrooms, you know, have that earthy component, and when you add that that smoke to it, it just intensifies that flavor and really just kind of takes it to a different level. Threw in a little bit of onion here with some butter onto a really hot saucepan. Forgive me, I don't normally cook with these induction cookers. I usually cook with gas. I'm a gas cooker. You know, I can look at a flame and tell if it's the right flame I need to cook, or if I'm gonna ruin something or not. And sometimes with this induction cooker, things can get hot real fast, but that's all right. Just gonna soften these onions up here for probably about 2 or 3 minutes, just kind of let them go. The sauce that we're using right here is one that I kind of came up with. I like red wine sauces in general. I guess this is some of the French cooking and stuff that I've had in the past. And I've just found I've got a newfound love for a mushroom. And one day when we were making the duxelle sauce, or the duxelle for our Redneck Beef Wellingtons, which you may have not seen in our videos, or you may see later on around the holidays. I found that if we take these and add a little bit more liquid, you know, you try to get the liquid out of the mushrooms, but then you put some liquid back in there. I found that I could create this nice little luscious, silky sauce. I'm gonna go ahead and knock in probably a clove of garlic into this. Not really trying to burn anything. I'm just trying to really kind of soften this up, trying to draw a little bit of flavor out of it. This is not where I want to brown anything, you know, sauteing wise. This is just, you just want to have just enough heat to kind of soften stuff up, draw stuff out. That smells wonderful right there. To that, I'm gonna go ahead and add in our mushrooms. These mushrooms are not fully cooked. There's still a lot of moisture in it. We're gonna try to pull some of that moisture out and add that to this. Basically what we're doing right now is kind of creating this base of flavor in here that will become the sauce when it's all kind of combined together. Turn our heat up just a little bit more. Like I said, I'm a gas cooker. Buttons and whistles and digital stuff's kind of a newfound thing for me. A lot of people be laughing about that. Next ingredient that I want to put into this is a little bit of the Dijon mustard. We need a little acid base in the background. I have used apple cider vinegar here in the past. You could use a champagne vinegar, but I found that the mustard, I like mustard. And with the lamb chop that we're getting ready to use this with here a little bit later on, I found it just to be a great combination. So feel free, you can substitute something else. just that flavor alone just makes me want to grab a piece of naan bread or pita and just lay it on it and kind of nosh into it. That'd be a great little semi-vegetarian dish, albeit we use the butter, I know, you know. All right, now that we've got that going, I'm going to add a little bit of pepper to this, as well as I'm going to add one sprig, and this is just a whole sprig I'm going to add. I'll remove this later, of thyme. And we've got basically 8 ounces of red wine. And this is not like the great table wine that you would want to serve with this meal. This is your cooking wine. And it's kind of like how I say the lemon juice. You know, I use bottled lemon juice when I cook, but I like fresh squeeze when I put it on my meat or my fish at the end prior to serving it. So this right here is just a regular old red wine that had a screw on top. And that red wine, thyme, and everything just kind of starts coming together right here. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to increase the temperature on this. We've got it going here, nice little boil. And I'm going to let this go for just a little bit. I want to kind of reduce this and burn off the alcohol. Burning off the alcohol is very important. The alcohol will make that sauce bitter. If you were just to throw this in and throw it into this blender and puree it up, it would be like this pucker. You know, like you had ate one of those pieces of that sour candy that just turned your mouth inside out, or bit of lemon. So it's important to go ahead and boil your alcohol. Accompany your meal with alcohol, but don't put it in your sauce. Yes, that's just kind of a rule of thumb, I reckon. The sauce is kind of coming together already. You can kind of see, I don't know if it's kind of hard to see on the overhead with all the steam and stuff, but the videos that we do here in the RBL studios, the ones that you can go to our website and see right down here below, they really don't do you a service because you miss the smells and you can't eat it. But I tell you what, I promise you, if you do it at home, you can get that taste, and you can get that smell that I get here, that the whole studio smells of just this wonderful aroma and stuff we're cooking. All right, this is going pretty good. The last thing I want to add to this is I want to add just a little bit of our Redneck BBQ Lab competition rub. This rub is the one that we use on everything. You've heard me say it 1,000 times in our videos. I use it on all my competition meats. We use it on our meats in the restaurant. We use it in our vegetables. We use it in our salsas. It's the base for pretty much anything. I use it on popcorn. My buddy Mike Baker, who's doing this video event webcasting right now, is like, he still needs to jump on this and try it on popcorn. I told him he wouldn't be disappointed. One of my favorite things is I like this too on fried homemade potato chips. So I'm gonna put probably about a teaspoon in here into this. What this is going to do is it's going to give it even more of a background flavor of smokiness, that saltiness. That's what that is. That flavor. It's got some salt in it, so I'm going to hold off on putting any more salt. If you guys know how I cook, I always wait until the very end to put my salt in. After I taste it, especially with sauces and stuff, I will put it into stuff, meats and stuff that I'm cooking. But my sauces, not so much. Now, go ahead and knock the heat off on this. This came together pretty well. It's reduced a little bit. The alcohol has burned off, I should say. I'm gonna go ahead and, it's being aggravating, but I'm gonna go ahead and fish out that piece of fresh thyme. And pop that into the bin, since we don't need it. Put that all in there like that. Smells good. You could take this right now and just have you a nice piece of grilled chicken and lay it right across the top of it, you know, flattened out chicken breast, salad off to the side. You'd have a meal right there for yourself. Go ahead and knock this into the Vitamix mixer. Like that. Get it in there and give it a nice little burst. Always be careful if you're doing this at home. The sauce itself here can get a little bit volatile because of the temperature in there. If you ever shake something up, it can explode. Be very careful when you're doing this. All right, I'll reach in there and get a little bit, try it. Needs a little bit of salt, just a touch. And we're going to put a little bit of fresh parsley in there as well. All right, so let's see how we did. Give this a little taste. Yep, that's it. Good to go. So I'll probably leave this in here until we get ready to serve. It's nice and warm. I may thin it out with a little bit more water, but we'll be ready to put this on our lamb chops. I believe I just heard a beeper, so it's time to go check on those lamb chops and see how we're doing with them. All right, folks, we're back. Our lamb chops have rested there. Let's recap how we got to this point right here. Remember, we got the rack of lamb, we trimmed off the excess fat and the silver skin that was on it, coated it with some canola oil and applied our Redneck BBQ Lab chicken and rib rub to that. We let that sit for about 30-45 minutes in the refrigerator just to kind of start the chemical reactions working, that magic kind of getting together with the meat and the rub. We put it onto a nice hot smoker that we had, our pellet smoker. We smoked it on with some cherry, hickory, and maple pellets for probably about 45 minutes. We got the temperature up to about 120 degrees. At that point, we pulled that meat off. That's a rare state, and let it kind of sit for a second, kind of cool off. Meanwhile, we took our chiminea. It's typically something you use to put charcoal in and start a fire with. But this time we started a fire with the chiminea, with the charcoal, and put a grate over the top of it. And then we did what's called a reverse sear on this, meaning we took it from a low and slow type of smoking environment to a hot, fast cooking, hitting it really hot. It's probably a 900-degree flame just hitting this to kind of sear the outside. It kind of caramelized the residual sugars and what was left over. It kind of dried it up, created a nice bark. Plus it imparted another different flavor, a layer of flavor to this. You always hear me talking about layers of flavor in barbecue, and that's one of them. So while we were doing all that too, we made a red wine sauce with smoked mushrooms. We did that combining mushrooms, butter, garlic, onion, parsley, red wine, the Redneck BBQ Lab competition rub in there, just kind of a smoky background. Blended it all together. We kept it warm over there on the side, and now it's time to see how we did. So let's cut into this lamb and see how it is. You can see right there, that's how I like mine. I know some people are out there shaking their heads going, oh my gosh, you have to cook it Pittsburgh blue. Rare, rare, but I'm one of these folks that medium rare is just fine for me. I'm not a huge fan of undercooked meat. Now sushi's a different thing, but undercooked lamb, I don't know about that. Oh yeah, the thing's nice and tender, very, very tender. Very tender piece of meat. Cut us one more and I'll show you how I'd plate this. We'll try it and then I'll show you how we'd plate this as well. Who knew? High-tech redneck here today. This mushroom sauce is not the prettiest sauce because the mushrooms themselves add a really dark color to it, but the smell is really what gets you with this. It's that red wine strong background with the smoke and the mushrooms, outstanding. I would sit there and dip vegetables into this and eat it. But in terms of what we're doing today, I think that would be it, along with just a little bit of the Redneck BBQ Lab all-purpose competition seasoning on top. And that right there, I think, it's a great way to showcase your talents and your skills to your significant other, your spouse, your family, and your friends there at home. So let's see how we did. All talk and no action. First thing I think I'm going to get into is just a piece of this lamb to see how we did. You can see how tender it is. I mean, it just kind of falls apart, fork tender. Smells wonderful. It hits all the marks in terms of barbecue. It's got some heat, a little bit of cayenne in there, that sweetness in that rub in the lamb itself, smokiness and some saltiness combined with that lamb taste, that slightly gamey but slightly almost like beef taste. Really, 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 really nice. Let's see how we did with some of this mushroom sauce on it. That takes me back to French cuisine right there. I was introduced to that several years ago. I was lucky enough to go to France. I was 14 years old and had no clue what was going on, what anything was culture-wise, and I was experiencing different stuff, wine sauces, escargot, and stuff like that. And when I shut my eyes and eat that, that's what that reminds me of, something French, something decadent, but something that we made on a simple pellet smoker and a chimney outside here at our lab, and you folks can make it home. So, once again, I'm Jerry Stevenson. I am the Chief Redneck in charge here at the Redneck BBQ Lab, McGee's Crossroad, North Carolina. I'm here with my friend Mike Baker from Event Webcasting, genius behind all of this production and stuff, what you see right now on this set. We're shooting these videos for you folks. We're not doing this for us. I'd rather not tell you guys my trade secrets. I'd rather not show you this side of me that makes mistakes and stuff. Really, it's not me, but we're doing this for you guys, trying to get you guys inspired to get outside, to get cooking, to be creative, to depend less on others and depend on yourselves. And the only thing we ask in return is that you guys like this YouTube video, subscribe to this channel, please. Hit the bell for notifications. Share this with your friends. Let them enjoy this if you've enjoyed this as well. As always, leave your comments and your suggestions as to other future videos or what you thought about this video in particular. You can find our competition barbecue rubs and seasonings, the same ones we use in the competition trail, won world championships with, same ones we use in our restaurants you folks can use at home. You can find them at www.theredneckbarbeculab.com. Find our sauce. Put your zip code in there, it'll show you the local place closest to you that carries these. If you don't have a place local, there's several of our vendors that do ship nationwide, worldwide actually. We just started that here as of last week. So just keep that in mind, folks. We can get it to you if you want it. As always, just ask you folks, please be kind, smile, and be patient with one another. Let's just spread this gift we have, this gift of positive energy throughout the world. Positive energy, love, overcomes all. Thank you guys for being here. Love you. Take care. That's going with me.